Welcome to Calm Your Crazy. This is Kiana Lambert, and tonight we are talking about conscious creation in practice. That's kind of a vague, ambiguous thing to say, but we're going to talk about a few things in this episode. We're going to talk about resistance, and I mean energy resistance. Why aren't you getting the things that you want? What's standing in the way of that? And then we're going to talk about life force energy and how to reclaim it because it was hijacked. Okay? And just a warning, this is going to talk about uncomfortable things. So we're going to talk about porn. We're going to talk about the industry and how society has created this whole industry and it's hijacked life force creation. We're also going to talk about some other uncomfortable things like the essay of children and that stealing life force energy from the beginning. So it's going to be a hard episode. If you struggle with these things, then it might not be for you. And this is not an episode of judgment. There is no judgment. You are me, I am you. It's just consciousness having an experience. But we're going to talk about it because it applies and it affects the way that you create and manifest the reality that you want. Last, we're going to talk about holding duality between your quantum conscious creator self and your human self. You are both. You need to hold duality in order to experience life the way that you want to experience it. And it can be really confusing when you are starting to have this awareness in the observer position and these things come up and trigger you and you don't know how to feel about it because you're kind of in this in-between space. So we're going to talk about that and guide us through that together. So the first thing we're going to talk about is resistance. And resistance is data. It's information. So when you are not in the energy of receiving, why isn't something coming to you? What is in the way of that? And that is the resistance that's in the way of receiving what it is that you want. So if you want love, abundance, confidence, success, happiness, or anything else, even anything physical, then you have to ask yourself, what energy am I in? Am I in this energy of receiving? Am I in this energy of being able to receive abundance? Or am I hyper independent? Am I in control? And I say, oh, I can only receive abundance this way. That is resistance. Anything that's not open and allowing and surrendering and going with the flow is going to create resistance. And sometimes you want resistance because you can create resistance to push the flow in certain directions. But when it is something that you really, really want and it's not happening for you, ask yourself, what is in the way? What is in the way of me receiving this and getting what I want, or experiencing this, or working through this trigger? What is standing in the way? Why am I feeling this? And these are questions you can ask yourself out loud. I ask myself these questions out loud when I need to work through something. So ask these questions to yourself, and the first thing that comes up is the answer. Trust and tell yourself that you will figure it out. It's going to come to you, and it always will if you let it. Meaning you're not looking for it to come. You just relax into your daily routine, your moment, knowing that it's going to come up for you, and when it does, you'll figure it out. So another thing that builds resistance is your belief around how you can have something and how it is going to manifest and what you need to do around it. So you can ask yourself, is there any limiting belief that's inside me that's creating this? So resistance is another way of looking at subconscious programming, right? It's a different perspective because that resistance is coming from subconscious programming. And let's remember, subconscious programming is everything that you've taken into your nervous system and experience, and all your beliefs and your self-perception. That is all your subconscious programming. It includes your DNA back a couple hundred years as well. So all of that creates the reality that you're experiencing. Therefore, it's part of the resistance. Resistance comes up from those things. And sometimes we don't know what that resistance is. We don't know what that energy block is in our body because it is an energy block. So I'm going to give you an example of what I had going on and how I dealt with it. And I have had a struggle, like in the last month, with some self-love. Like I really wasn't feeling it. Like usually I can really get into that flow state, because I've gotten to the point where I can shift and I feel the frequency shift. And I feel my brain shifting and I feel my body shifting and I can feel the energy. But I was having a struggling staying in that energy. So I wasn't sure really what was going on, and I was using all my tools, and I was like asking myself the questions, and I couldn't figure it out. And I always tell people to ask yourself the question, right? Well, I wasn't doing that. I was doing everything but that, and that's okay, because the struggle is on purpose. It's so that you can figure things out on the way. And I had been trying to figure things out. And what I needed to learn were several things. One of them being, again, surrender. You're always going to need to learn surrender to come back to yourself. So even with all the tools that I was using, I could not figure it out. So finally, it smack dab hit me like, oh, this is like, I need to go back to basics of what I teach everyone. So I looked in the mirror and I told myself, show me the barriers to love, show me my resistance. And then I left it at that, and I trusted the answer was going to come. And usually when I'm having a lot of things that I need to work through, I will struggle with the sleep, because your nervous system is actually processing. So you're going to have the cortisol in the early morning and all the things that go along with it. Everybody knows. If you've been there, if you know, you know. So I couldn't sleep, and I was tossing and turning, and I started to relax and say, okay, this is normal. I already know this. This is the drill. I know something's coming up for me. And so I started really just sitting in my body and paying attention to it, and just sitting with it and lying there with it. And by the time 6:45 rolled around, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And the interesting thing is it was a different perspective from the perspective that I already knew cognitively. So it hit me like a ton of bricks. I had never been shown how to love myself. I'd never been shown how to treat myself well. What I had been shown was self-loathing and shame and judgment. So that's what I did to myself growing up and in my adult life. And not only did I do that to myself, but I attracted my self-worth. And because my self-worth was the way that I was taught, then I attracted partners who reaffirmed that self-worth. Until I decided no, and I saw the pattern, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it anymore, right? But that wasn't the perception that I got. I already know that side of it. I already cried about all those things. I already lamented my parental units being who they are, and I know they're just other versions of me at their point of consciousness and mine. And the reason that they are the way they are is because their own trauma. I've gone through all that, right? The perception was the pain that was subsequent to that. Meaning, I already processed that my parents and the generational trauma that I experienced, I already processed all those things. I knew that's why I struggled with self-love, because I was never taught it, right? I already knew. But what I didn't process and what I never felt was all the pain that came subsequent to that. So it's the grief from realizing that you suffered so much more. And you start seeing the pattern of your life and how much pain you caused and how much pain you went through because of this belief that you had no control over. So I just processed all this unprocessed pain, and I was having a catharsis moment and really just crying because it was like a grief of time lost. A grief of seeing how much I perpetuated the pain in my relationships and with my kids and with myself. It's almost like watching sadomasochism in reverse. I mean, when you look back on it, except that you're not aware, so it's not really your fault that you did all that. But those were still in my body. Like the pain, the grief was still in my body. And the crying moved it. And it moved that barrier to the self-love that needed to come up. So I wasn't feeling the self-love because it was triggering that wound, creating resistance. It didn't feel good. So if it doesn't feel good, that is your clue that you have to work through something. And I tried all the things, and none of them were working until I asked myself to show myself. So the lesson is surrender. Always go to yourself first. Those are the basics. And then feel it. Let it come up. Understand how it affected you, how it created the patterns to begin with. And then release it. And the release is literally feeling the emotion in your body and sitting with it. That's all that needs to happen until you focus on it until you no longer feel it. And breathe, do your breathing exercises, use your toolbox, and move through it. And I feel right as rain now. I feel even better than before. And here's the thing that you need to know about resistance is that the more that you feel your old wounds and let them come through, you're moving that old stuck energy. And it makes room for the other emotions you want to feel, like happiness and joy. When you have those old wounds, there's literally stuck energy. It's stuck energy in your fascia. And you need to move it in order to make room for other emotions. Your capacity to feel happiness and joy is proportional to your capacity to sit with your pain. So you are going to have to feel both. And whenever you get through it, you'll feel that resistance leaving. And then what you want is going to be able to come through. So really work with it, and always remember that resistance is information, and it's a clue for you to move through things that you need to move through in order to start creating more abundance and more of the things that you want. So let's move on to the next topic. Reclaiming your life force. This is the one I was talking about. It's going to be a sticky wicket, folks. You might want to put your wading boots on because shit's going to get deep. Yep. True story. Okay. Life force energy. What is life force energy? Life force energy is creation energy. And the reason that I figured this out was I started seeing patterns and stories in the women in my community, and we were talking about how we've been able to feel a certain way and how things have happened. And one of our community members has got story after story after story, and she's really, really good at this. So I saw this pattern of life force energy, and the way that my brain works is I ping all over the place. So one thing that's very much in common with a lot of us in the community is a sexual assault. And that is because I started the community. It's all in my frequency, right? And that happened to me. So I have this in my energy. They have that in their energy field. But one of my community members transmutes it really, really well. And it doesn't bother her at all. And I started to see from her stories, from my experience and the other people's experiences in my community, that the life force energy was the creative force behind magnetism and creating the things that you want. It is an energy that you can embody. I've done it a lot. I could tell you some stories. They're not very kosher. They're funny though. But anyway, it works. And then I thought it was only limited to me, but it's not. Every single person has a story about how they have used this life force energy and things that have happened. And it's sensual energy. It's not just sexual energy, but it's sensual energy. And it doesn't mean that you go out and have sex. It's the embodiment of it, because you are creating something with your reality on purpose. And this is so powerful that the stories that I've come across are absolutely incredible. So my brain pings all this information, right? And then it starts to map other things, what we have in common. I start looking, boom, 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 boom. We have sexual assault. And then what's happening now in the Epstein files? Boom, 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 children, right? Things that were done to me under 6 were ritualistic in some cases. So the whole simulation, this is the story arc. What happens if you make life force energy dangerous? This is the hijack I'm talking about. What happens if you get to the children? If this is sensitive for you, please turn this off. What happens when you get to the children? If you get to the children first and you make life force energy and sensual energy dangerous to begin with because you hurt them with it when they were children, what do you think that does to them, their entire lives? What happens? They're terrified of it. They suppress it. You suppressed it. I suppressed it. And not only does it begin with the children, but also with other people that get assaulted all the time. Their life force, their free will, their choice was taken from them. Therefore, it becomes dangerous. The nervous system associates it with not feeling safe, because every single time you go to have an intimate encounter, you're triggered. The bundle of nerves at the base of your vagus nerve, which is right there, where they call that the root chakra, they're all tight and bound. And that's why you hold all that trauma in your hips. Yeah. So this is the hijacking of life force energy. We suppress it because it doesn't feel safe in our nervous systems. And when we do not harness this energy, we are subject to the programming of the simulation. Meaning ourselves, that when we create this reality, we're subject to not being able to use this life force to create something we actually want. We create struggle, resistance, because that's all we know. We're taught that the only way to do it is physical. And then we're running out of energy because we're spreading it all over the place in our nervous system with all these blocks. So to reclaim your life force energy, you have to start just like you do everything else, challenging your nervous system around the idea that something is not safe. And you have to work on embodying it and feeling it. It is a feeling. And here is where porn comes in. Not only is the hijacking with sexual assault with children and women and men and taking the life force that way, but there is so much degradation of the idea of connection and love with porn. Yeah, you're going to hear this in my voice right now because this is something I'm very passionate about. This happened to me. It is disgusting, and I know that sounds like judgment, but it has taken and put the view of something that is life-building, creation, and love, and turned it into something sick and full of shame. Shame, shame, shame. If you look at the statistics for porn, and this was, oh man, when I was in my undergraduate when I had to do statistics for my undergraduate. There were so many porn sites that every single man, woman, and child in the United States could have two of their own and not even have to share with anybody else. These are my two sites. Go get your own. There's enough for everybody. And that was, good God, I graduated in 2013 with my undergraduate. Guess how many sites there are now? I mean, I don't even know. Go take a Google. It has become so perverse. And that doesn't even include the child sites. It is disgusting. It is a virus inside the simulation. It hijacks the life force energy, starting with children all the way up until adults. And then not only does it do that, but it takes it and it makes you think that this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what it's supposed to feel like. And everybody's so wrapped up in their phones and in their electronics that they can't even sit in their body. They're so worried with scarcity and fearful and filled with anxiety and stress and everything else that they're not sitting in their body. And the ones that come from generational trauma are not sitting in their body. They're dissociating because their body was hurt. So the only way that they can actually get any sensual sexual stimulation is by watching something, because they're all in their minds and it's mental. And that is the only way that they can get off, because they don't have connection. And we're so busy that we don't have connection. So they turn to this because they have all these options and no other connection to make. So this is naturally what people do. And then they think that that's what connection is, and that prohibits them from making more connection, because that's not what it is. It's abhorrent. It drives people apart. And it's not even real. It's not true. It doesn't work that way. It completely destroys the idea of love. And it's hijacked life force energy. And there's shame around it. As there should be. I'm not one for shaming and judging, but there should be, because that is a hijacking of your life force energy. It's driving you away from connection. It's lowering your physical life force. Go look at the statistics for people who don't have connection and what is happening to them. Your life force is diminishing. Your physical age is not going to live past a certain point because you don't have connection, and it all leads back to life force energy being hijacked in these ways. So the only way around it is if you watch that stuff, go in there knowing exactly what's happening to you and why. You can't sit in your body, you're overstimulated, and this is the only way that you can get your rocks off. You lack connection, and this feeds your dopamine and can become addictive. Look at the statistics on what it does to your brain. I am vehemently opposed to it. It ruins people. So you have to stop doing it. If you are in a phase of awakening, this is not for you. Don't watch it. Return to self. Form real connections. Learn and grow. Feel your body. The life force energy that you need to get and feel comes from your body. It's a tingling sensation that you feel all over you. And if you're in your mind and you can't be in your body, guess what? You're not going to be able to use it. Hijacked. Successful. So if you want to use your life force energy, you have to stop doing that. And if you are scared to have intimacy and it is something that you struggle with, you're going to have to really work on self-trust and self-love for yourself. and bring it back and make it be safe. Find tools that will help you feel safe in your body, and then practice enjoying pleasure. It's going to take some time with your nervous system. Learn different ways of practicing that physically in your body without using something that's a mentally stimulating. Stay in your body and feel it. The emotions that you feel, the feelings that you get, are part of that life force energy. You have to work on your self-perception in addition to this. You have to see yourself as somebody who is powerful and holds this energy and embodies it. You can feel it all day long, but if you do not think of yourself in this way, then you do not have the capacity to hold it, meaning it will not stay. It will be fleeting. The emotion, the part of it that you want to feel will be fleeting. You will not be able to control it. This doesn't mean that you stay in this energy all the time. You have tons of different energies. This is just one of them. It's a very powerful manifestation one to create things with because it's creation energy, right? I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You have your mom energy, you have your defender energy, you have all the energies. This one is your life force energy. So you're not going to be in it all the time. So don't expect that. What you want is to be able to summon it when you want to feel it. That's how you summon it and you control it, because you can embody and feel it and summon it whenever it is that you want to. And you have to feel and be in your body to do that. And if you don't feel safe with this energy, then you have to practice microdosing and metabolizing your nervous system to this feeling. So you're going to have to practice pleasure. You're going to have to practice using it in public and being really vivacious and feeling that love and feeling good about yourself and watching how it changes people. Watch how things change and how the interaction changes. You're going to have to do all these things. But over time, you will go from not wanting to feel anything to wanting to feel everything, even the bad. And this life force energy, you'll be able to summon it at will. You'll be able to use it, and you will be able to do a lot of things with it. And what you can do with it depends entirely on your nervous system and how terrified you are of yourself. Because if you are scared of your own power and you start to see this and feel this and your nervous system clamps down and you can't move past it, then you're cooked. So you got to relax. You got to go slow or fast, however it works for you, but you got to keep going. And you will return that life force energy. All right, let me see. What is the next topic? Sorry, I bumped the mic there. And I'm not doing this in my little sound stage, which I affectionately call my closet. Actually, I affectionately call it the sound stage when it is my closet. But so you're hearing the audio a little bit different tonight because I'm in the bedroom. Oh, yes. Okay. We're going to talk about holding your quantum and human duality. What does this mean? Well, first, duality. What is duality? It's opposite ends of the spectrum. So positive and negative are duality. Black and white is duality. Wrong or right, X and Y. It's basically just two opposite ends of the spectrum, and you are both. You have to be both, or else there wouldn't be any contracts. You're the yin and the yang, baby doll. Okay. So, when I say holding your quantum and human duality, when you become a conscious creator, when you become aware that you are the actual one creating reality, and whether or not you believe in simulation theory or hologram theory or quantum physics or whatever else, when you become aware that you are the one that is creating everything, which a lot of people are coming to me and telling me, and it's a pattern. Ha! It's a pattern forming, and it makes me so unbelievably happy because I'm starting to see what the beginning stages are. And then I can compare it to my journey, compare it to the journey of people in my community, and I can see a pattern forming. Like soon, I'll be able to tell you exactly what stage you're in if I label them. But I'll be able to tell what stage you're in depending on what you are seeing. Anyway, when you become the observer, this is when you start seeing cause and effect of you creating reality. People are like, oh, I'm thinking something and somebody will come and answer it for me. Or I'll want something and somebody will bring it to me. And they're really amazed and floored and wondering what this is. Well, it's them. They're coming to the point in their awareness and their consciousness evolution that they're able to see from the observer standpoint that they are actually creating this in real time. And how do I know they're creating it? Because no one else is observing it. You are the observer in quantum physics. You collapse the wave from the quantum unified field where all possibilities exist. You are the observer. You create from energy. You also give yourself feedback from observing with your eyes. It's all you. So at some point in your journey, which is a little bit later, you are going to get to this phase where you're going to get triggered by something. And you're going to be like, I'm creating my reality. I know that none of this is real. It's simulation theory, blah, blah, blah. Like, and you try to ignore it. But it keeps bothering you. So you try to be like, okay, and your belief systems and your subconscious programming kicks in, and then your belief subconscious programming around being the spiritual and letting it go kicks in, and you just trying not to think about it, but it just keeps nagging you. And then you're like, why is this really bothering me? I'm a conscious creator. I'm above this. I don't need to feel this. And it can become really confusing. So this is why you need to hold duality. Your consciousness, your quantum self, is one end of the spectrum. That is your observer self. And your human self is the other. Your human self is driven by your higher self, your consciousness, to have the experience. And the only way to have the experience is to feel the emotion. So if it's bothering you, that means you need to do something about it. If it's triggering you and it doesn't feel good, that means you need to do something about it. What you do about it is up to you. You are going to need to ask yourself, if you don't know, what do I do about this? What do I want to feel? Did somebody take your power and you need to feel like you're getting it back? Then you need to take action and stand up for yourself. And if you are not used to standing up for yourself, or you're working through a nervous system issue, then it's going to look really stinking awkward when you stand up for yourself. You're going to be flabbergasted. You're going to be flubbed. You're going to probably stutter and you're going to sweat a ton. But you know what? Once you get through the interaction, boom, experience under your belt. Add that to your subconscious programming bank. You're good to go for the next round. So feel. You have to feel and let your human self and your human emotions come through, because that is how you play the game. Your consciousness wants to do something. You want to do something. You're now in this observer state. Well, your human self wants to feel too, and you've got to go through those things. The triggers that come up are things that you have to deal with, and then you decide how you want to deal with them. If your lesson, if how you want to deal with it is that you need to learn control, you're going to need to do this over and over and over again and have the confrontation, have the conflict, so that your nervous system learns control. And it's all training for something that you want to do down the line. So if you continue to have situations where you're in confrontations, then it's training for your nervous system. Because if you are a people pleaser and now you're moving into being a conscious creator and owning your power, guess what? You're not going to be able to own your power until you learn how to use it. And that learning how to use it is the training of bringing yourself situations where you have to stand up for yourself and take your power back. And you'll do that over and over and over again until you become a pro. And then once you're a pro, it's not going to happen anymore, because that's how it works. You got over it. You've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Now you're back. So this is how it works for creating everything. Let yourself be your quantum self, and then let yourself have your human emotion, because the duality of holding it is not letting yourself have the human emotion, but it's also knowing why it's happening. For example, I was having conflict with this same management company that manages our property over and over again. I've had a conflict with them 4 times now. And in the beginning, I was like super nice, trying to be understanding, and it didn't work. Second time, I tried to be a little bit more assertive, just made it worse. But I backed down because of my nervous system. Third time, it had just got so much worse, and I was having so much conflict around the situation, and I was like, what is happening? I am this quantum creator. I obviously don't want this. Like, what am I supposed to be learning from it? Because here's the thing. It's going to keep happening until whatever it is that's the block of energy in you moves. Until that moves and until you understand and discover what it is, it's going to stay there. So I can think pie in the sky all I want to, but if it's something that I need to learn, I need to be trained on my journey to wherever it is that I choose to go, it's going to keep coming up. So that's the caveat. People are like, oh, I want to create, I want to do this. That doesn't mean that negative things won't happen to you. Negative things happen to you so that you can learn how to turn them into positive things. So after the third time, I was incensed to the point of no return. Hijack engaged. Subconscious programming, play. Yes. And I'm watching myself get angry. And then I'm watching myself feel unsafe in my anger. And then I'm watching myself feeling the shame for not being as nice as I normally am. I have a quick tongue, a quick wit. I'm very sarcastic, and I know how to shank you in the ribs and make it sound joyous. But you will know that you got shanked. And this is metaphorical, not physical. I abhor violence. So anyway, I observe myself doing all this. And I'm like, okay, I know that now it's happening because I need to not shame myself for having a human emotion. That's one thing that I'm learning, right? This other thing is being okay to embrace anger when somebody continuously crosses your boundary over and over again. And the other thing was that, yeah, I tried all the things in the toolbox, but what I needed to learn was this, and I was avoiding it and having resistance by trying all the other things that were just so much better for my nervous system, right? But what I really needed to do was confront it this way, so that I could forgive myself for always getting angry and pushing myself down in the past. Because the trigger is not what's happening to you now. That's not the point. The point is what's triggering from the past. And I would shame myself, and anger didn't feel safe because the environment that I grew up in. So shame and judgment for being angry and being big. That's what I needed to forgive myself for denying myself all those times, all those years ago, and not on purpose. So it's not like I'm like judging myself and forgiving myself. It's okay. That happened for a reason. I didn't know any better. And this is why it's happening now. For all these other reasons that I need to learn. So I'm allowing myself to have the human moment and letting myself feel the anger and being okay with that and saying, yeah, they crossed boundaries. They really screwed up. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to not be as nice and make everything okay for somebody else's nervous system. It's okay. And remember, while we're on that little topic, little sidebar here, every no to somebody else is a yes to you. And you need to be saying yes to you before you say yes to anybody else. Because everything starts and ends with you. So hold your quantum duality with your human and allow yourself to feel the emotions, knowing that they're coming up for a reason. And this is part of your experience, and it's training, and it means something on the way that you need, on the road you're headed towards, wherever you're going. It's happening for you. And look at it from a quantum perspective so you can get that observer angle and say, I see now why this is happening. I needed to let this go so I could move on. I needed to let this frequency go so I could move on. And guess what? It's all gone for me. I'm like, okay, we're done here. Because I can make that decision now that I've gone through the emotions. I felt everything. I reacted. I learned. I did what I needed to do. Boom, we're done. A lot of people think that you can't do this and you can't heal. You can't do all of it. You can. You've just been told that you can't, and your power's been taken away. But you can do all of this. It's integration. It's not anything extra. You don't have to go through an extra class. You need to learn how it works, and then you need to walk through your life getting triggered like you do every day anyway, and then using that moment to become aware, be the observer, choose a different path, and understand why it's happening to begin with, and level up. So, it was a little tough love tonight. I was a little bit aggressive in my tone. That's how it is when you're passionate about something. Everybody needs to get in their feels, okay? It is okay to have emotions. It is okay to feel. It is okay to push back at somebody in this tone of voice when they cross your boundary. And it is okay to say exactly how you feel and exactly what you're thinking. You don't have to be a professional. Okay? This is my house. I live in this house. I'm emotional when it comes to my property because it's my livelihood. This is my area. I'm emotional about it. If you want professionalism, let's meet in the office where you work for me. Okay? How about them apples? Yeah. You do not have to push your emotions away. You have to use them. And whenever enough people start being emotional, then everything is going to change. Everyone's going to see how life is created with emotion and how it's supposed to be felt. And there's every reason to be emotional right now. There are a lot of things happening and it's very challenging. So let yourself feel. Be angry, be sad, be mad. It's okay. You can feel all these emotions and have them. You are entitled to them. They're part of the human emotional spectrum. It's why you came here, to feel. Taste the chocolate. Kiss the motherfucking rainbow. I mean, go have an adventure. There's so many things you can do here, so many possibilities. And the reason I am so passionate about it is because they've hijacked it and I can see all this. I can see the whole freaking pattern. Have a near-death experience, come back, and shazam. And I have fought externally my entire life. Nonprofit organizations, going to rallies, volunteering, all of it from the external. And I really just wasn't seeing enough change. I felt like I was working at it backwards. And lo and behold, quantum physics comes into my reality. And guess what? I am working on it backwards. So this is me working on it from the inside out. I worked on myself first, and now I'm teaching other people how to do it. If you're a woman and you want to learn this, and you want to take action, and you want to start working through your things, I left my community open. We're not doing scarcity. We're not doing nervous system scarcity tactics or marketing. You want change? This is change. It takes work, but you have an entire community of people that are doing the same thing. And we have weekly meetings, and sometimes they go for 3 hours. The longest one was 3 hours, but we held space for each other while we worked through every single person to get through everybody's what they were going through. And you can meet, we do a one-on-one, a preliminary one-on-one to figure out where you are in your life, where you want to go, and how to get started. I'm so good at this now after doing it for just like 6 months that I can map your patterns pretty quickly if you're honest. I can feel when you're not. And I won't say anything, but it's a barrier. It makes it difficult for me to help when people aren't honest. And it's okay. Like, I get your nervous system is going to be activated, so I'm going to do my best to be your bestie for the hour. My energy is authentic. You're not going to feel anything other than what you feel inside from whatever's coming up for you. But if you're interested, go to the link in my bio. It's on my website. I'm going to update everything. It's going to be a little more specific. When I started this, I just started it. I mean, I just went for it. I stopped overthinking and then went for it. It's become a little more tailored now, so I will be updating it. But we meet weekly. There's video modules for stuff you need to learn weekly. In the beginning, probably for the first, I would say, 4 modules, you need to go through linearly, because they talk about the basics of quantum physics and how everything works. But the subsequent modules, open them all up and let's see what resonates for you. Because the whole point to teaching this and learning this is learning how to get in touch with your consciousness, your instincts, and start feeling what's resonating for you. Because when you feel resonation and it comes to you and you get used to it, it's like skating around people in life, in reality. You just move with the flow. So if this is something you're interested in, check it out. Link is in my bio, and membership's open for whenever you feel called. That's how it works. All right, that was a little bit of a longer episode. Yeah, 45 minutes. That's pretty good. And I don't know what we're going to talk about next week. It's always a surprise for me too. So love you, mean it. I will see you later.